Good evening, everyone. This is Melinda Russell, and this is Let's Talk Racing Live. This is our social media show, and we are actually live on the Women's Motorsports Network page, the Let's Talk Racing Live page, and on YouTube. So you can listen to this live on any of those. And then, of course, it's also recorded. So if you want to listen to it again or you want to come back and listen to it and share it with other people that you think might be interested, we'd love for you to do that. We love sharing about the women in motorsports that we have on our show. And so hopefully you will share it. And I'm going to turn the comments on. So if you have any questions tonight, then for our guests, feel free to put those in the comments. So my guest tonight is somebody that I actually did a story on. Gosh, Shelby, 4 or 5 years ago. You were in
Yeah.
the magazine, weren't you?
Yeah.
She was one of the first stories that I actually had in my online magazine. Her name's Shelby Ebert, and I'm not going to tell you what kind of racing she does. I'm going to let her tell all about that. But Shelby, welcome to the show. And first off, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm Shelby. I am from Northeast Kansas and was born right into a racing family. My dad has been racing for over 30 years now. He started in 1989 and always had the dream of racing myself. And so it was always kind of inferred that I would drive someday. And I've been racing since I was 14, so long career, and I'm still only 27. So it's been a great time, and really blessed to live the life I do, thankfully. So yeah.
Awesome. So why don't we start off by telling people what kind of racing are you involved in?
So we race drag boats, which we typically call them quarter mile drag boats. We actually only run 1,000 feet now. But basically just drag racing on water. So if you've seen NHRA, you can basically put that on water, and that's what we do.
Exactly. And so that was what was so interesting to me when I first met you and did the story about how fast you go and how scary that is. Um, I mean, all racing can be scary, but that was really unusual for me. I knew there was boat racing, power boat racing, but to talk to you that when we did that story and learn more about it, I was really impressed. And then it was funny because I believe I was in Arizona with my daughter and my grandkids. That would have been 2000, I want to say 2018. And I was flipping through the channels and there you were on TV racing. So
Yeah.
that was very cool too, to be able to then sit and watch somebody that I knew on TV racing. So that was fun. So Shelby, at the age of 14, I know you said, your dad had raced and everything, but um, is there an age limit when you can start? Tell me about how you got started, why at 14, and then we'll go from there.
So the rules were when I was 14 was the age 14, but they've changed a little bit since then. I started on a jet ski, which is typically how our younger kids start out. And now it is by state. So whatever age you can get a boater safety license in your state. So Kansas, Missouri, whatever age
Mhm.
that is. Some of them are 12, some of them are 13, up to 14 or whatever. That's the age that you can start. And it's pretty financially smart to get in at that point because you can get a jet ski for relatively cheap.
Mhm.
And just to get the experience of the rope and the clock and all the things, because obviously, unlike drag racing, you can't park. I mean, there's no brakes, there's water is constantly moving. So our rope is actually 125 feet behind our start line because we're holding onto a rope before we leave and we want to hit the start line right as it turns green. So all of those things need to be taught to the kids that come into the drag boat world. So I think starting young is very smart, and I'm really glad that I got the opportunity. I raced a jet ski for 3 years and won one championship and really enjoyed it. I got to meet a lot of kids in the sport. A lot of I was a shy kid, and so it was really nice to be involved with other kids that grew up the way I did and get to compete against them.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't that true of all motorsports? the people that we meet.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing. Um, Turn out to be some of our best friends
Yes,
for life,
definitely.
for
Yes.
sure. Yeah. So you start on a jet ski, you won a championship there. And then are there different levels of, is it power boat racing? Would I be saying that right? It's drag boat racing.
Drag boat racing,
Drag boat
correct.
racing. Okay. So are there different levels? Like, so after the jet ski, you moved on to another level. Explain how that works.
Yep. So there's a lot of different classes that you can get into. You have personal watercraft, which is jet skis. You can even race those as an adult. It's not, limited to kids. But then you can get into our eliminator classes, which is our sportsman classes. It starts with stock eliminator and then modified eliminator. Modified eliminator is where I started. Back in the day, they were quarter mile and I ran 10 seconds in a quarter mile, but now they're 8 seconds in 1,000 feet. So they're running pretty quick, but you can run any kind of boat in that. You can run a jet boat, a flat bottom, or a hydro in that class. It's unlimited to whatever you want to do. You can run any kind of motor, really. So it's really open to anyone. You can even run an outboard. That's another option for a
Okay.
boat hole. So it's really a good place to start, especially if you're an adult and are interested, but not want to get past the jet ski stage, but really don't want to like commit really hard to drag boat racing. Modified top eliminator is a good place to start just to get an entry into the sport. Relatively low cost and still have a lot of fun and a lot of really tough competition.
Yeah, I'm sure the competition's tough, especially, I know you race like out in the West a lot. And so it'd be a great place to be this time of year, burr, for sure. But
Yes.
so when does your racing season start? How long does it go?
So we typically start in May or June. This year we'll start in May and then we'll finish our normal season in about September. And then depending Phoenix, which we normally run, we don't know if it's coming back this year because of the track situation, but
Right.
normally we run that in November. Obviously West Coast, it's a little bit warmer
Yes.
during the early part of the year and the late part of the year.
Right. And so we spoke before we got on air that Wild Horse Pass is in Phoenix, and that's where you typically would run in November. And so I know that you had good finishes there in Phoenix. Tell us about how you've done in Phoenix, and why do you think you've done so well there?
Yeah, it's been really amazing. Phoenix is one of those places where drag boat racing history has it's been around for so many years that the history, you can just feel it there. And all of the older generation drag boat racers, they've always been like Phoenix is the place. And it was always the world finals. So everybody across the country came to Phoenix in November and we competed against everybody. It was not abnormal for them to have 200, 250 boats at the event. So it's a big deal. And as a growing up in drag boat racing, Phoenix was like the Daytona 500 of drag boat racing. It was the
Right.
goal. And I'd only ever won it on a jet ski. I never won it in an open boat. I raced 1 year in modified eliminator, 1 year in top eliminator, and then 2 years in pro eliminator and won 4 championships and still never won in Phoenix. So it was a big deal. Actually in 2018, we went out there in the pro mod. We had been running the pro mod for 3 years at that point. And obviously wanting to win Phoenix. We ended up winning that weekend, and little did we know it was going to be the last event that Lucas Oil Drag Boat Racing Series was going to have. And we didn't know it at the time, obviously. So it was really incredible to look back on it and to know we didn't know if we were ever going to race in Phoenix again.
Right.
So it was like we may have just won the final Phoenix race, which is a huge deal. Thankfully, SDBA came back 2 years ago and brought Phoenix back. And so we went back during November and we ended up winning it again, which was incredible. Didn't think we'd go back. We're hearing that the track is going to close and all of these things, all these rumors coming out. And we ended up going back again last year. And I thought, my time is up. I've won it twice in a row. The chances of winning it again are very, very slim. And we ended up winning it again. And again, we don't know if it's going to come back again. So if it doesn't, I will be very thankful that we managed to win the last 3 times that we went out there. And if it does, we're going to go back and try to win another one.
Right. And so what It has to be one of your favorite places to race. What is it about that? It's a man-made lake, I think you said.
Hmm.
What is it about Phoenix that you think has made you so successful?
I don't know what it is. I think it's the air out there. There's not a lot of humidity, obviously. And so you're really
Right.
just focused on the altitude in the air. And it's really easy to tune, we found. My motor, for some
Okay.
reason, is very easy to tune out there. Whereas in the Midwest, you're dealing with a lot of humidity and
Right.
a lot of different factors. It could be raining or whatever. And so you're dealing with so many more factors in the Midwest than you are out on the West Coast. So we've just figured out, I don't know, we figured out a way to make the motor run the number every year. And I don't know why. I guess we're just lucky. I know we're lucky because winning it 3 times in a row is unheard of. But I think our guys have really managed to figure out a way to be consistent there, and
Hmm.
consistency is key.
Yeah, that's, you know, most racers have a favorite track or a favorite lake or however, and so it's not surprising really, but it just, to me it seems like, I mean, tracks don't change that much. Like, let's just say the guys are racing in Phoenix, they're going to race there in March and November. The track's really not going to change.
No.
But the lake could be a windy day, because it can be windy in Phoenix. It could be a windy day. It could rain. Do you race in the rain?
We try not to. They
Okay.
definitely don't try to send us, like the pro mod class and above, out in the rain, just because we have a capsule, so we're enclosed. So once the rain gets in there and you shut your capsule lid, obviously it fogs up, which is
Okay.
not ideal. So
No.
then you won't be able to see. But they will run. They try not to run in the rain if they don't have to, but they will run some of the open classes with it, like very minimally sprinkling if they're
Okay.
stressed on time or anything like that.
Okay. So normally you would have to have good weather, which is the same as, asphalt racing or whatever. But yeah, I think it seems to me like wherever you race on water, the temperature, all the conditions could be so different from one time to the next. But yet you've still been very successful at Phoenix. So that's kind of fun. And you
Yeah.
never know, it might be the last time. Every time you're thinking, oh, this might be the last time, and then you still get to go back, and then you win. Oh, it might be the last time. And
Yep.
so you've just got to keep winning, Shelby, so that if it is the last time, you've always got that in your pocket, right?
Yes, and that was what was so awesome about it, is after Lucas Oil announced that they were out of the series, we thought it was done. We thought we would never go
Yeah.
back.
Uh-huh.
And then to go back again and again, and in 2021, I guess it would be, we honestly thought it was the last time. I mean, I took pictures and everything, and last year we went back, and again, you think it's the last time.
Right.
So, I mean, who knows what happens, but like I said, I can rest, I can rest easily knowing that we won the last one if it was the last one.
Right, for sure. So tell me, where are some other places that you go to race?
So we race mainly in Wheatland, Missouri at Lucas Oil Speedway. We race there 4 times a year with a Kentucky Drag Boat Association, and I would say that is my favorite track. It's only
Okay.
about 3 hours from us ish, so very close to home. It's our home track, and it's also the only other man-made drag boat lake. It was made specifically for us, and there are a lot of traits about it that make it perfect for what we do, as far as where the ramps are and how many ramps we have and the pit area and all the things. It also has a dirt track, a go-kart track, and a lot of cool other as an off-road track. So it's kind of like a all-purpose facility. They have a bunch of camping for spectators and like a restaurant and bar area. So
Okay.
it's more of a destination, which in
Uh-huh.
Wheatland, Missouri, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So it kind
Yeah.
of has to be a destination,
Right.
but it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. Yeah. And so tell me, is it the Ozark area? It's more near St. Louis, Kansas City. What part of Missouri is Wheatland in?
Yep. So it is southeast of Kansas City, north of Springfield, kind of in the
Okay.
middle of nowhere, kind of in the like Clinton area. Only about an hour or so from the Lake of the Ozarks, so not bad
Okay.
from that area either.
Yeah, that's a beautiful area to vacation in too, for
Hmm.
sure. And there's lots of lakes there, but I doubt those are set up for drag boat racing for sure.
No, that's the number one question I get. Everybody asks, "Well, do you go to the shootout at the Lake of the Ozarks?" And I'm like, "Not quite what our boat does, but yeah,
No.
I appreciate it, but not quite what we're set up to do."
Exactly. So about how fast in miles per hour or whatever, about how fast do you go in your boat?
We run now about 170 miles an hour in 1,000 feet. The fastest I've ever been when we were running quarter mile was 187.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fast. I don't care what you're in, but especially in a boat.
Yeah, it's fast. I mean, granted, I feel like in an open boat, it almost feels faster because you feel the wind and the
Right.
everything around you. But in the capsule
Uh-huh.
boat, it still feels very fast. Especially, when we were running quarter mile and running 180 regularly, it felt very, very fast.
So let's just talk about that. When you were going 180 whatever, and then you stop and you get out of the boat, are you like wobbly? I mean, what do you feel like when you get out of the boat?
It's just an adrenaline rush, honestly. I mean, especially like qualifying. So we qualify typically on Friday and or Saturdays, and then Sunday is always elimination day. Typical NHRA stuff. But on Saturday, it's just like I'm getting in and doing my job. Like it's just normal. It's just trying to run a good number, trying to qualify well, trying to get a number one spot, all of those things. So it's really not anything abnormal. But on Sunday, it's the winnings, it's the adrenaline rush, it's the nervousness, it's the can we beat this guy that's right next to me? I need to cut a good light. I need to be listening on the radio for my dad to call me off. I need to make sure my head is straight to make sure that I do my job. Because if those guys put a 560 in my boat, the number 560, I need to make sure that I cut a light and I'm in front of the guy next to me at the end of the track.
So do you have anybody that you compete against that would be your biggest rival?
Yeah, it would probably be Sean Reed, and he would probably agree. He's the one that I beat in 2018 in Phoenix and in 2021 in Phoenix. We've raced probably 5 or 6 times against each other, and he's only won once. So
Okay.
he's definitely due for a win. But we have a good relationship. We always joke that we're going to bring him some like pink shorts and make him wear them and all of those things. And
Uh-huh.
he's a good sport about it. We have a great relationship.
Okay, that's good because that could get ugly actually,
Mm-hmm.
but that's good. But you've been racing long enough and have a pretty good history of winning to the point where when they see that you're in the competition, they're not going to be surprised if they get beaten.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, everybody thought we were just kind of playing around like we have Shelby, we have this in the bag and all of those things. And then I think when we started winning, we won our first race in 2017, and after that it was pretty much like she can make it happen. And I think I've earned the respect of pretty much everybody in the class, if I would say so, just because I've shown that we do have what it takes. We can run the number, I can cut a light, and we can win rounds just like anybody else. And they know, I think, that when they face me, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to cut a light on them. So they better give me the best they have.
Okay, so explain what you mean by cutting a light. I'm assuming it's like drag car racing, but why don't you explain that?
Yeah, so reaction time, we call it a light, but yes, reaction time. Basically, you want to cross the start line that I talked about earlier right when it turns green, which is more difficult than, in my opinion, than a drag car because when you're in a drag car, you are staged right next to the start line,
Right.
whereas we're 125 feet back. So the way our clock works is it counts down numbers, and it counts down from KDBA's clock counts down from 19, and I leave on a 6. So I have to wait until the 6 comes on, and then I'm leaving, flat gas flat on the floor, leaving, and that will put me right at the start line, basically right when it turns green. So a good light in drag boat racing is we O lights are good. I would prefer an O50 every single day. I would take one. But O lights are what we strive for, and O50 or better, that's a great day.
Okay. And so how I'm sure there's a lot of math involved for one thing, but how do you know that you leave at number 6? Just from lots of practice? Um, it's been proven that that's how long it takes you to get from there to the start line. How do you figure that out?
Lots of practice, and it's different for everyone. I mean, there's a lot of boats, we don't run transmission. So the boats that do run a transmission, they're going to leave harder than I do. I don't leave very hard. So they might be leaving later than I do. So it just depends on your combination and how your boat leaves. So we have just we when we started back in 2016, I usually left on a 6, a quick 6 in my open boat. So that's where we started. And then I adjusted from there. So we might have started with a quick 6, then we needed a more of a solid 6. So I would wait just like a split second more than that. And each number is half a second. So like 9, 8, 7, 6, they're all half second numbers. So technically it takes me 3 seconds to get
Okay.
from the rope to the start line.
Okay. That makes sense. Are there other women that you race against, or are you the minority?
So there aren't any other women in the Kentucky Drag Boat Association in my class. There are a couple women in SDBA, Southern Drag Boat Association, that's based out of Texas, that run in my class. We do go down there and race them a decent amount, but currently in where I run for points and the championship and everything, I'm the only female in my class.
Okay. And about how many men would you say are in that class?
We typically have 7 to 8 guys and then
Okay.
me. It depends on who comes up from Texas or who comes to the race, but we typically have a field of about 8 or 9.
Okay. So I assume you have elimination. Do you only ever just race against one person, one other person?
Yep. So 2 people at a time, drag racing, and it's just like a bracket style. So we're paired up
Okay.
based on qualifying. We qualify on Saturday. We get paired up. The first person is pairs up with the last person,
Right.
unless there's a bye, an odd number field. But and then we race each round until we figure out the winner.
Yeah. And about how long does that take?
We start normally at about 9 a.m. each Sunday morning, and depending on boat count, we'll be done by about 5 or so.
Okay. So that seems like that takes a long time, but it's because there's lots of other classes going on, right? So
Yep.
you're going to race and then they're going to race another different class and on and on and on, just like they do when I go to Martin, Michigan and watch the drag cars.
Yes, exactly. So typically they start with the slower classes because we don't have as many boats as they do. And so they'll start with the classes that have more rounds and they'll start with them first, then we'll get thrown in there. And then we typically have about hour and a half or so in between rounds. And then we'll go back to the water and just same thing. And then as we get later in the day, it'll get quicker. They'll want us to get to the rounds quicker because obviously we have less boats, quicker to go through.
Right. Okay. So what's your favorite thing about racing a boat that goes 170 some miles an hour?
It's just awesome. Like not a lot of people can say that they race a drag boat at 170 miles an hour on a regular basis. And I grew up with it. My dad is a very accomplished driver, and being with my family, we're pretty known in the drag boat world. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of expected that we're going to go out there and do pretty well. And so just that family atmosphere and enjoying time with my parents and our team, they're my family. I love them like my brothers and my sisters. I mean, and so just enjoying that experience with them, winning with them, getting to celebrate with them, all of these things we have so many highs that we get to enjoy together, but there's also so many lows that those are the people that help you get through those lows. And then we get to celebrate the highs together too.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you talk a little bit about your team? Who's on your team? If you want to mention them, you can. What do they do? How do they help you?
So my parents own the boat, Todd and Janet Ebert. My dad, like I said, has been racing for forever. He's won 10, 15 championships. He's, in my opinion, the most accomplished open boat driver in the country. So he and my mom own the boat. My mom she feeds us. She does t-shirt sales. She's also a representative for Racers Emergency Support Program, which is basically wives and family of drivers that will go to the hospital, go with the families to the hospital if there's an accident. They also help out any families that have incidents outside of racing that they need either emotional help or financial help or any kind of help that they can give. She's a representative for them now, which is great that she's able to give back. Then I have a couple guys that have been with us forever. Barney, which is our tuner. He's been with us before I started racing. He's been with us a long time. And he's kind of a math whiz and looks at all the numbers and decides what tune up to put in the boat. And then we have Selden, who's my crew chief. He puts me in and out of the water. He does the maintenance on the motor. He looks at the oil filter. He changes the oil. He runs the valves, all the things. And then we have Carissa and Travis, which is Selden's daughter and son-in-law. Travis is the young gun that's trying to get into it and learn all the things he can. And Carissa helps my mom out and me out a lot with t-shirt sales and putting me where I need to go. If I need to, hey, this person wants an autograph or this person wants their t-shirt signed or whatever the case may be, my mom and Carissa definitely help with that. And then my boyfriend, Paul, recently came on and he is more in the car racing world. And so he's come from that. And so he's been super helpful with the weather station and a lot of things that car racers have to deal with that we never even thought of that he has been able to help with.
So that's awesome that, he came over from the car world, which is very cool. Does he still race at all?
Yeah. So he crews on a stock car and a super stock car with NHRA.
Okay. All right. So there's, the whole, as we always say, we can't do it alone. It takes a lot more than the driver, obviously. Yes. Any driver who's successful will be the first one to tell you that they couldn't do it without all the people that support them around them. And in your case as well, I know that's how you feel for sure. What would you say is the thing that maybe has been the hardest for you, whether it be being a woman in a real man, really dominated by men more so than, stock car racing and that we're seeing more and more and more women. And but in the boat racing, we don't see as many. So what's been your biggest obstacle or things that have been the toughest for you?
I think there's been a couple, one more female related, and then one because I grew up in the sport and people still think of me as a child. But being a female, I really had to, there weren't a lot of my competitors. I wouldn't say a lot. Some of my competitors in the very beginning had zero respect for me. They thought that I was handed everything, that I was spoiled, and that this was just, something that I would do for a while and get out of or whatever. Everybody has their opinions. And so people talk a lot. And
sure they do.
So I've had to grow tough skin. I didn't have tough skin in the very beginning, but people that have given their opinions that were unwarranted have made me had tough skin. And so that has really changed me as a person. And not only as a driver, but as a person, which I'm thankful for. But at the same time, it's like you kind of think, well, these people are changing me. They're saying things that are making me either want to be cold to people or put myself, take myself away from the situation or whatever, because you just feel like people don't respect you or people think you're whatever the case may be. And so you really have to build tough skin and decide that you don't care what anybody else thinks except for your team and your family. And those are the only people's opinions that matter. Those are the people that know you. Those are the people that are there for your lows, for your highs. They're the people that see you through everything and know the true person that you are.
Right.
And everybody else's opinions don't matter. You got to keep your head down. You got to stay focused and make sure that you stay true to yourself. And everything else that's said is just noise, honestly. And then as far as the being younger and being a kid that grows up in drag boat racing, as you get older, you want to be an adult. You're racing against guys that are 50 in their 50s, 60s.
Mhm.
And so people are seeing you as this little child, and they want to protect you, and they want to make sure that you're safe and all of these things. And you might not get the same treatment as the 50-year-old guy standing next to you,
Okay.
because a lot of these people want to make sure that you have the best safety equipment and you are protected, and we're not going to put you out there because it may be dangerous and all of these things. So all of that I've had to overcome to really earn the respect of competitors, of people who run their events, and all of these things. And it's been hard, but it's been worth it. And I think that I've hopefully earned the respect enough to overcome those things.
That's interesting. I haven't really ever heard anyone talk about that people remember them as a child and have a hard time realizing that you're not a child anymore. Um, so maybe because you have been around it so long, they remember you as the little girl playing in the sand while her dad raced.
Yeah.
And now that you're up there, um, I would have a hard time with that myself, because I want to take care of myself, and I
Yeah.
always think I'm okay. I don't need you to worry about me. But
Hmm.
what about your parents? Did they have those issues, or did they, because they were right along beside you as you grew up, they were okay with everything that you were doing?
My parents have been 1,000% supportive through all of it. I mean, when I was 3 years old, they sold my dad's original hydro, and I ran down the driveway saying, "Bring me my boat back," and they knew then that I was going to drive. So they have been prepared for a long time, that they knew that I was going to race. And
Hmm.
so my dad actually put off his career. He's retired from sanctioned drag boat racing. He's only doing outlaw racing now, because he wants to focus on my career and make sure that I'm being successful. And he's doing everything in his power to make sure that I'm successful. So my parents have been 1,000% supportive. And my parents are also the first ones to acknowledge that people may not say the best things, and they will come to my defense 100 times and make
Hmm.
sure that those people know that I've worked hard for this. I continue to work hard for this. And it was not just a gift that I was given. It was definitely earned. And I've tried my best to earn respect, and I've tried to do everything right. And of course, you're never going to do everything right, but
Right.
they've done their best to make sure that have all the tools I can, or that I have, to be successful, and to just tell everybody that their opinions don't matter. And as long
Right.
as my parents are, proud of me, and my team's proud of me, and they're happy with the direction I'm going, that's really all that matters. So my parents have been incredible.
Yeah. And people like to, especially if there's jealousy, which I'm assuming, part of it is you're a woman, you're successful, there's got to be some jealousy around there somewhere. But it's so important that you're able to tune those people out. And I love what you were talking about earlier. Don't let people say you can't do it, and that, because that's what young girls need to hear. They're hearing it from somebody who's gone through it, Shelby.
Yeah.
um, and so it's, as a younger girl in any kind of racing, and the boys are picking on her, or usually it's not the boys, it's usually the parents of the
Hmm.
boys are picking on her, and she has to realize that that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think no matter if you're a boy or a girl and you're very successful, you probably get that,
Yeah.
no matter what. but but especially girls, we're a little more sensitive sometimes, and we
Hmm.
we take it personally, and we take it to heart. And so I love what you were talking about, that as long as the people that matter, they're the only ones that matter,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that what
Yeah.
they say?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I have two girls that we actually pit with, that are younger, and one's on a jet ski and one's in an open boat. And what I want for them is, I want them to not have the experiences that I've had. I mean, granted, they're going to have their hard times too if they continue in this sport, They're going to have their people that don't say great things or have their opinions or whatever, but I want them to look at me and think, well, Shelby went through all of this and she came out on the other side and she was able to get through it. So
Right.
why can't I? I know I can do this. And I want them to keep their heads down and make sure that they know who cares about them. They know who to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that nobody else matters. Because it doesn't. I mean, people will always talk about you. So it doesn't, you just have to figure out whose opinion matters to you and whose doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm going to ask you, and if you feel like you can't answer this or whatever, that's okay. So how does the people that race against you, you and the people that race against you, this is your job. Do you have another job outside of this, or this is what you do to make a living?
No, this is not what I do to make a living.
Okay.
My parents do not do this to make a living either. My parents own a business in Wamego, Kansas, E&R Machine. They make machinery for like tools and like they make parts for like big heavy machinery and stuff like that. I actually work at a racetrack. I work at Heartland Motorsports Park in Topeka,
Okay.
Kansas, and I handle the marketing for the track. So we have a drag strip, we have a road course, we have a drift pad, we have a country music festival. We have over 240 events a year, and I handle the marketing, the social media, the website, the radio, the TV, all of that stuff for the racetrack.
Okay. That's awesome. And that's right up your alley too.
Yes. I knew when I graduated out of college, I knew I wanted to work in motorsports, and that was the closest place to do it. So thankfully I got the opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's another thing that I try to share with the people that listen, especially the younger girls, is that yes, you're living your dream, you're driving a drag boat and you're racing, but those opportunities are not always available for a young girl to continue as she gets older. But there are so many other ways to stay involved in motorsports. And so you went to college, you apparently have a marketing degree or some kind of a degree that gets you a job that is in a sport that you're passionate about, whether it be drag boat racing, stock car racing, NHRA, whatever it might be. But it still allows you to be around the atmosphere of racing, which is what you love. And a lot of girls, especially younger ones, just think that it's only about being the driver. And if I can't be the driver, what am I going to do? And there are so many opportunities. And that's one thing that we share on this show over and over and over is it's not always easy. And sometimes there's disappointments. Oh, I'm not going to be able to go forward and be the next World of Outlaw champion, but I can be this.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely say that there are so many opportunities. And I mean, granted, we have a small team at Heartland. We have a small team that's full time. But even if you have a full time job doing whatever you're doing outside of racing and you have a track around you, they are always looking for staff.
Absolutely.
Always. If you just want to be around the sport and around the people and enjoy it, they're always looking for people to handle ticketing or handle whatever the case may be. And it gets you in that atmosphere and gets you connected with other people that love it. So I would say if you have any kind of track or opportunity around you, definitely take it.
Yeah, for sure. Shelby, do you know Daryl Busby?
I do. Yes.
Can you read? I don't know if you can you see the comment on the screen or not? Okay.
Yes, I can.
So, Daryl's proud of you for what you've done. And I know he's not the only one. He just happens to be the one who made the comment. And then Deb McCrimmon Metcalf said, hello, Melinda and Shelby, greetings from Corpus Christi, Texas. So that's awesome. Welcome, Deb. Thanks for listening to the show. And Daryl, you too. So Shelby, if you had, you mentioned there's a couple little girls that you see, if you had a mom or a dad come up to you and say, my little girl's crazy about boat racing, what would what's your advice? What would you tell her to do? Is it a good sport for women to be involved in?
I think it is. besides all of the things that I've gone through that have made me a better person, and I've had to go through to give me where I am now, there are so many positives to drag boat racing.
Yeah.
It is truly a family, and I have been involved and around pretty much any racing motorsports that you can be in: drag racing, road course, drifting, dirt track. I have been around those people, and drag boat racing, I can honestly say, has a family like no other. And that's what I tell all of our drag boat family. I'm like, you don't know how lucky you are that we have this family
Mhm.
here, that we've created this environment. So I would say it's a great place for them to be. If you do want to get into drag boat racing, you can get a jet ski when you're 12 to 14 years old, and it'll teach you all of the tools that you need to continue if you want to. And honestly, everybody, if you need advice or parts or anything, all of the teams are more than happy to help. They are so happy to see younger people getting in the sport, because I think all of motorsports right now is getting to the age where we really need to get younger people into the sport, or else
True.
it's no longer going to be here for us. And so I would encourage anybody who's interested to get into it. Even if you have a jet ski on the Lake of the Ozarks, come down to Wheatland and enter into the race. I mean, just try it, see what you
Yeah.
think, and it might change your life.
Right. Absolutely. You talk about young ones, and if you listen to social media, or you read things, or you listen to podcasts or whatever, some of them are very negative, and they think that the race is dying, or comments that racing's dying, whatever. I was just in Shelby Township, Michigan, which is north of Detroit, for a banquet of the Michigan Auto Racing. Let's see, I got to get it right. The Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club. So this has been in existence since 1969. I live in Michigan. I live in the southwest
Mhm.
corner of Michigan. So they're, 3 hours away from me is where the banquet was. But I'd never heard of them until around Christmas time, because nobody in my area, none of the tracks in my area belong to this, which I
Mhm.
don't know why they don't. I'm going to be finding that out. But the number of kids, I'm going to say 18 and under, were probably at least a third to a half of the people that won awards at that banquet.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And there was quite a number of girls as well, which I'm all about the girls. And
Yes.
so, and that was there were 400 people in the room. They sold out the banquet. It was a wonderful event. I got an award, which was awesome. But just the fact that all those kids, there was a little boy, I think the class was like 6 to 9 year olds. He couldn't have been more than 6, because he was
Oh.
a little tiny thing. And it just makes you excited and hopeful for what's to come, because that's just that little pocket in Michigan.
Mhm.
There's kids all over the United States, all over the world, really, but all over the United States that are involved in racing. When I go up to Martin, Michigan, to the drag races, the number of junior dragsters is
Mhm.
unbelievable. And
Yeah.
the number of girls, I would guess, are equal to or might outnumber the boys.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could be the next Brittany Force or Leah Pruitt or
Yes.
whoever. I mean, you never know what that child is going to be, which is incredible. I think NHRA and NASCAR are always, I mean, fingers crossed, going to be fine, thankfully.
Yeah.
I think drag boat racing is such a niche
Yeah.
thing. It's like tractor pulling a little bit,
Right. It
and
is.
it's just more of a niche thing. And it's scary that the people that were huge into it are getting older. And
Uh-huh.
I hope that drag boat racing is still around when I have kids and they're old enough to race a jet ski, because I will definitely be doing that. And I just hope that parents will be getting their kids into our sport as well, because yeah, junior dragsters, I would love for my kid to also run a junior dragster, and I think NHRA and NASCAR are going to be great. But this drag boat family is truly special. And if they would have any interest at all, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing you know who Sarah Monroe is.
Yes, I do. I grew up with her.
Okay, so what wonderful comments, Shelby, from your friends and people that know you. She says, "This is why I love our sport so much. I've met so many people that have become family."
Yeah.
And I I probably, people that listen to my show every week probably get tired of me saying this, but that's what I love about this. So if if powerboat racing goes away and NASCAR goes away and there is no racing, God forbid that ever happens. It's not going to happen. But let's just say it did. I have Shelby and I have K Dub and I have hundreds, if not thousands, of women now that I've met who are my friends,
Hmm.
and I follow them, I reach out to them, and nothing can take that away from me.
Yeah.
So your friend Sarah, you and she are going to be friends forever, regardless of boats, right?
Yes, yes. We definitely our racing family is honestly closer to us than a lot of our biological family. And we've created that relationship. I mean, this weekend we're gonna go celebrate a birthday with our race family because those are the people that we
Mhm.
truly feel connected to because those
Yeah,
are the people that know us the best.
right.
And those relationships, regardless, will never change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, to me, that's what it's all about. I love
Mhm.
the racing, the competition, the bright colored cars and boats and motorcycles, but it's the people that keep
Yeah.
me energized. And when I've had a long day and I'm tired and it's like, oh, but tonight I get to talk to Shelby.
Yeah.
Then that's what keeps you going for sure. So
Yeah.
Kenny Hornby says he's got some of your merchandise and he wishes you had ball caps. So I would think you need to get some ball caps.
We do have some ball caps. They're kind of hit or miss. They sell pretty well right in the
Okay.
beginning. So,
All right, Kenny,
if
you reach
yeah,
out to Shelby and she'll see that you can buy a ball cap for sure.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Shelby, I know you won the Pro Mod Championship this year. Did we mention that or no?
We haven't yet.
Okay, tell me about that. What is that? Where did you win it? How do you win it? Go for it.
So we run with Kentucky Drag Boat Association. That's where our points championships through. We ran 4 times in Wheatland for the points championship, and I actually did not win any race with KDBA this year. My dad, I had to work, and we ran 4 races the first weekend in July, or the first event in July. I had to work. I couldn't get out of it. My work is very flexible with me, but there was no way of me getting out of this. And my dad has always said, "I will step in. I will drive for you if you have to work," because I do work a lot of weekends.
Yeah.
And he stepped in and he actually won the event, which is just crazy because he's only driven my pro mod one other time in competition ever. So he doesn't race a pro mod, he races an open boat. So for him to go out there and win was, I mean, a dream that he never knew that he had, that he accomplished, which was amazing. So he's one of the biggest reasons that we won the championship. We went to 2 other finals during the year and got second. And then on Labor Day weekend, we went out first round. And thankfully, the guy right behind me went out first round too. And then we waited for the guy behind him to lose. And that was what made us win the championship, which you never want it to be in somebody else's hands. You never want your
Yeah.
fate to be not in your hands. But thankfully, it worked out. We've been within qualifying points multiple times of winning a Pro Mod championship, both with Lucas Oil, with SDBA, with KDBA, and to finally win it was really special, especially to do it with my dad,
Yeah.
because he helped me do it.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's more about that the boat, it doesn't matter who the driver is, it's the boat that
Correct. So the
technically the boat
points,
won the championship, but
yep,
yeah.
the boats or
Okay.
the points follow the boat number. So
Okay.
I can race or dad can race, and we could tag team it or whatever, and
Okay.
win a championship together.
I like that. I like that you can do that and that you and your dad did it together. That's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, there's not probably a lot of championships won by a dad and a daughter,
Yeah.
especially in drag boat racing. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, it's been really special to have this experience with my dad because we've actually won twice together. One time when we were in both in open boats, and then one time when I was in the pro mod and he was in the open boat. So to have those experiences with your dad is
Yeah.
something that you're never gonna forget and always gonna
No,
be thankful for.
absolutely. Absolutely. So Shelby, what have I not asked you about that
Oh
you would
man.
like to share with the listeners? Anybody you want to thank? You have any sponsors you want to talk about? Anything at all?
Yeah, thank my parents. Ian Our Machine out of Wamigo. Star Cards is where we get our cards done. They're a sponsor. RESP, RFC, who comes to the racetrack and does the sermons on Sunday morning and prays for us before we go in the water every pass. So all of those people, KDBA for putting on amazing events. If you've never been to Wheatland, Missouri, if you've never been to Lucas Oil Speedway for one of our events, please come out and see us, especially if you're close in the Missouri, Kansas area. Come out and see us because that facility is seriously one of the most incredible. They call it the Diamonds of Dirt Track.
Oh,
And
really?
so it's a very nice facility and you will not regret coming and either camping or getting a Airbnb, hotel, whatever. They have amazing facilities, and the racing for 2 or 3 days, depending on the event you go to, is definitely going to be fun. We always have a dirt track race on Saturday night that you can go up to. The go-kart track will run, the bar will be open, all of those things. So I would encourage anybody to come out and see us.
All right. I'm going to try to put that on my calendar because that sounds like a lot of fun for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Well, Shelby, now I apologize. Is it Ebert?
It's pronounced either way. We pronounce it Ebert, but it can be pronounced either way.
Okay.
It gets called either way. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm sorry if I said it wrong because I
No, it's
have always
okay.
said Ebert. So I'll try and remember that. But I just want to thank you for being on the show tonight and sharing your amazing story. I love following you. I've followed you for almost 5 years now. Can you believe
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
2017, I started the group that I have, International Women's Motorsports Association, and then you were one of the first ones that I had in the magazine, and I've been following what you're doing ever since. So I'm glad to get you on the show now that you're grown up and an adult and still
Yeah.
still in drag boat racing, and you're going to be in it, I know, for a long time. So thanks again for being with me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And good luck this season. And maybe my husband and I will make a trip to Wheatland and check out the racing.
We would love to have you.
That would be so fun.
It
Yeah.
would be.
And my husband would love that too because I drag him to, asphalt and dirt and whatever, but we haven't been to a power boat or a power boat. We haven't
Yeah.
been to a drag boat race.
It's something a little bit different and probably a lot cleaner. And
Yes, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Shelby, and
thank
good
you.
luck this year. And if I can ever do anything to help you, excuse me, let me know. So, just to let you know, usually I have a partner on here. Brett Timmerman has been my co host, but the last couple of months he's had to take a little bit of time off. But he started something when we first started this social media show together. And so I've continued it. So, what he likes to tell our guests is that racing and motorsports is definitely a family, and we've confirmed that tonight. And so now that you've been on the show with us, you're part of our family, and so welcome to the family.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so sweet. I love that.
All right, welcome. All right, so Shelby, thanks a lot. So that is Shelby Ebert. She lives in Kansas, but she's a drag boat racer. And if you can imagine going 170 miles an hour down a highway, which would be ridiculous, what about in a boat? Oh, no, not for me. Not on a motorcycle, not in a car. No, thank you. I'll sit on the side on the beach and I'll watch for sure. But she's an amazing young woman. And Shelby, one thing I didn't ask you, how can people find you on social media if they want to follow you?
Shelby Ebert Racing on Facebook. And actually my Instagram is worldchamp326 still. So I should probably change that, but that's what it's been forever. So
You better just leave it. That's a
yeah.
good one. Yeah. Because I think the picture that I used says the fastest woman
on
on
water.
water. The
Yes.
fastest woman on water.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's our slogan.
Yeah, I love it. So, and get on, follow her, buy a t-shirt, help her out, because we all know racing's not cheap, and we want to see her continue. So, get on and follow her, and we'll be seeing you probably starting in May sometime.
Yes.
May to, you said September you race.
Yes, and I guess one other thing is all of our Wheatland races are filmed for MAV TV. So then they regularly show old shows. So
Yeah.
go on MAV TV and hit record on any drag boat racing or Kentucky drag boat racing, and you'll see me on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's how I ran across you when I was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Was you on them? I was like, oh my gosh, I know who she is.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm glad you shared that, Shelby. So, thanks again, everybody, for listening tonight. Feel free to share this show with your friends and anybody that you think might be interested in listening. The Let's Talk Racing Live airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We also have the Racing Girls Rock podcast, which is on all your normal podcast platforms. You'll find us on Apple and all those other ones that are out there. So take a listen to that. We're gearing back up, getting new interviews up on that part. We also have the Women's Motorsports Network online magazine, which I mentioned Shelby was in quite some time ago. The newest issue will be coming out here in the next few days. So if you would like to receive that magazine to your email, if you reach out to me on Facebook or at my email, which is iwmanation@gmail.com. Send me your email and say, I'd like to receive your magazine, and you'll be on the email list and you'll get the magazine so that you can catch up with all these women in motorsports. So I'm going to say goodnight for now. Once again, my guest was Shelby Ebert. Thank you so much, Shelby, for being on. Everybody have a good week. Stay safe. And we'll see you at the track. And if not before that, we'll see you on the show. Good night.